Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be repurposing this old shutter and also a couple of books. So the first thing that we're going to do is take all the hardware off this off these shutters, and I'm only going to be using one of them, and I'm not going to take that little rod off the back there because that's going to be the back, and so I just didn't see the point in taking that off. So just a couple of hinges on each shutter, and then one of the shutters had a little handle, so I'm taking all that off. And after I get all this off, then I took that outside and I took the sander and just really sanded on it quite a bit to do some heavy distressing on it. And now I'm putting some hangers, some of the sawtooth hangers. I'm using larger ones, and I'm putting one on both sides just because this is going to be an item that is used a lot, and so I wanted it to be really sturdy on the wall. And now I'm adding a hanger to each side because my plan for this is to use it as a towel rack in the bathroom. I guess it could be used somewhere else, but that's just kind of what I had in mind for this. So I didn't bother painting these hooks. They came black like this, but I am going to use some white wax on it because that'll just kind of add some more dimension to the color and keep it from being such a sharp black. So I just brush that on, and then I'll just kind of blot that off, and then that will change it up enough to where I feel like it'll go better with what I'm doing. Now this book, I'm just going to use the book jacket. So as you can see here, I just took an X-Acto knife and just cut down the sides. Now this book is not the one that I'm using on this project, but I thought I was filming that and couldn't find the footage of it. So I'm just showing you here as I do the next one. This is the process that I use to take the jacket off. And since the items are going to be similar, then the next step is also what I'll be doing on the next project. So I want to turn this into a wall pocket. So I'm taking a strip of drop cloth that I've just kind of torn the width that is just a little bit wider, maybe about a 1/2 inch on each side wider than my spine. So I'm just gluing that down on the inside. Now I just had to guess at how to do this. So I'm kind of experimenting here and just letting you watch how I experimented. So what I thought to do here was just to turn that corner there, and then I would worry about what to do with that later. But I knew that I needed to turn each corner like this. So I glued it on one side, down both sides of one side of the book jacket. And I'm just kind of overlapping it enough to glue it on there. And then that's going to hide that rough edge on the inside of the pocket, if that makes sense. So like I said, I do that on both sides, and then that will finish off the one side of the wall pocket. And I'm hoping it makes more sense to you as I go, how I made it work. So now I'm folding the book together, and then I'm kind of gluing that bottom. I'm just kind of tucking that bottom in and gluing it. That's not going to be showing anyway, so I'm just kind of trying to make that bottom secure and help it hold the shape of, I guess I'm doing a box here maybe. So I'm just gluing that down, and I do that on both sides. Now I guess at this point I could have and probably should have cut a piece of cardboard, maybe the size of the bottom, which I guess would be the size of the spine, and then secure that over the top of it. But I didn't do that. And it still worked because, like I said, this part is not going to be showing at all. So now this is the tricky part. Once you get that bottom glued in, then you close your book to where it's the size that the book would normally be. And then you just glue on the inside of that jacket and then press the fabric against it. And as you can see here, I want it to look kind of like a book from the side. So I'm just pressing that against that fabric. And I do that on both sides. And now it's starting to look like a wall pocket. And like I said, this is a different book than I used on my first project. I'm just using this book to show you exactly how I did that one. And this is the book that I'm actually going to be using on the second project. And it's surprising actually how sturdy this ends up being. And you can embellish it with other things, and I will be doing that on the second project, which will make it even stronger. But for the first one, this is all I did, except I took a piece of the hem of that drop cloth. I always save my hems because I use them on different projects, and I just cut a piece the length of the width of this book, or the depth, I guess, of this book, and I'm just gluing it to finish off that top. I have a lot of book jackets because a lot of times I want to take the book jacket off when I make my book stacks and other items actually that I make out of books, and so I don't want to waste these book jackets. So essentially that's what I do to prepare this thing to be a wall pocket. Now here is some rice paper that I ordered, and I used this or something similar to this in my last video, and I really like this rice paper. I wasn't sure it was rice paper because it's real fibrous and strong, and I thought that rice paper was fragile. But I really love the feel of this, and it's fun to work with. It decoupages very easily. It's very forgiving when it comes to wrinkles, and I feel like it's a good sturdy, so it doesn't tear easily when you wet it. So I just really am loving the rice paper. And now I'm just gonna tear this to fit my book jacket, and I'm not going to bother putting anything on the other side. And I started to put my Mod Podge here directly on the book, and I decided that I don't want any on the book where the paper isn't, because I love the color of this book, and it's going to go well with this paper once I add some white wax to it. So like I said, I didn't want to have any of that Mod Podge on there because I was afraid it might affect how the white wax takes. And now I'm just putting some white wax on here and kind of brushing it in there good, and then blotting it off. And I have to put a couple of coats on here because I want it to change this up quite a bit. Like I said, I don't want to take away from this color because I do like this color, but I definitely wanted to lighten it up a little bit. And I think that was just enough to go with the greenery in this rice paper. And now I'm just taking some more of the hem from the drop cloth and cutting two lengths just to make a handle for both sides. So I'm just adding a dot of hot glue to the inside of that jacket on each side, and then making a couple of handles. And that's all that I needed for this little box. And now I'm going to attach this to the front of this shutter, making sure that I put it right in the middle. And so I don't want it to overhang off the bottom, but I want it close to the bottom because I want to get that security of having it on that solid piece there. So I just glue that on, and I use Titebond, and then with a little bit of hot glue so that it has an immediate hold also. And now I'm using some more of that rice paper, and I'm tearing out some flowers to put in each of the top corners. And I'm not worrying with being exact or any kind of measuring. I'm just kind of tearing it to fit because I want an organic look. So now I'm just decoupaging that to each corner. And once I got this on, I decided that I wanted mainly to hide the screw holes on the bottom, because I didn't bother to repaint the shutter. Once I sanded it down, it was a good color. And so I do have a couple of screw holes from the hinges on the bottom there to contend with. So I just decided to just cover those up with some more of this rice paper. And now this little wall pocket is ready to have some floral in it. And this is some rosemary, or faux rosemary, that I found at Walmart. And I really like the look of it, so I just cut some pieces off, one stem, and just kind of place them in this pocket. Now with this pocket, I'm not even worrying with gluing any of the floral foam in the bottom, because I want this to be completely removable. You may not even want floral in it at all. You might want to put some bath products, or maybe a towel and a washcloth rolled up, and some soaps. You could use this for a number of things, but I just put floral in there. So that's all that I'm doing to this one. Now you could add more at this point, but I wanted to keep it more simple. And that one is finished. Now I did the same thing on another book, and this is the one that I showed myself doing rather. And now I'm just kind of painting the inside. Now in hindsight, this would have been easier to paint when I had it open, but I didn't do that. So I'm just putting the color drop cloth on this, and one coat covers it well. Now I purposely don't paint the bottom of this one, and the reason is because I want it to be obvious that that is a book jacket. So when you turn it to the bottom, and I clean it up good on the bottom, and you'll see that it's a book. And I just kind of like that idea. I'm not trying to avoid the bottom. I just wanted to leave it like that. So now I'm just taking a floral napkin here and decoupaging that on the front and back. Now, if you've never decoupaged with napkins, you're missing out. If you just take one layer, the outer layer that has the image on it, you separate that from the other layers. Sometimes there's one other layer, sometimes there's a couple. But you definitely need to separate it. And so I let this dry well, and I didn't cut it to fit. I just let it dry well, and after it dried well, I just took some fine grit sandpaper and just neatened up those edges, and that cuts the excess off and neatens the edges. And now I'm using some wide ribbon here that I thrifted, and I'm just going to cover that drop cloth up. The drop cloth for this one was here mainly for strength. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame here, but I found this ribbon, or this lace ribbon that is the width of that spine. So I'm just gluing that down, and that will add, not only add a decorative touch to it, but it will also strengthen it. So I'm just cutting that the length that it needs to be to cover that, and then I'm gluing down all sides. Now this particular book jacket is going to be almost like a little purse made out of a book jacket. But again, I'm going to put a floral arrangement in this one. I was really blessed to find this ribbon at a thrift store, and I was able to buy bags of different types of ribbon at a really reasonable price. And so I'm going to have ribbon for a while, and I'm sure I'll use it because I really use a lot of lace ribbon. And a lot of times, because it tends to be expensive, I will take an old curtain panel and just cut it up in strips. And especially when I'm going to make a bow. But I don't have to do that now because I have plenty of this stuff. So just for some extra layering, I took a little strip of drop cloth and glued it to the top of each of these sides. And now I'm taking this thin ribbon that I got at the Dollar Tree. I'm sure you guys have seen it there. And I'm just kind of adding a little more there to the top. And now I'll make a ribbon to go on this, or a bow. And this is just a little scrappy bow, a little, I guess some people call it shabby bow. And I'm just taking some strips of torn fabric and some ribbons and just tying it together and trimming it up somewhat because I want it to be, I don't want it to be exact. And now I'm gluing that on. And this is one of the simplest bows that you can make, and I really like the look of it. And now, because I kind of want to give it the look of a purse, I am adding those handles on this also. And this is still just some of that trim from the drop cloth. Always save your trim because it makes good handles for sure. And but you can use it on a lot of different items. Now you could use transfers on this, or stamps. You could stamp it and make it look more of a give it more of a French country look. But I just wanted to use the napkins on this one. And now I'm gluing some foam in this one, some floral foam, and I'm just gonna put a little arrangement in here. I'm not going to any special pains with this. I'm just kind of cutting some sprigs off and sticking them down in here. And it's just going to be a very simple arrangement. You don't even have to know how to arrange to do this. I'm just kind of sticking them in there. Now, a lot easier way to do this one would be to use some sort of a box. As long as it was sturdy enough, you could probably find maybe a pasta box that would be sturdy enough, or a cereal box, and it would be a lot easier. I just had all these book jackets and wanted to use them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.